thanks everybody for coming. We're really working hard to push the rain north. Everybody here? Yeah, there you go. So we're going to get started. If it does rain, certainly head for the library, or I think they're going to open the Merge building right next here. But we're going to proceed, and we're going to ignore the possible dark skies here. So I want to do a few thank yous. I want to thank our sponsors, specifically the City of Iowa City, for their financial support to make this happen. Uptown Bills has been great to our committee for giving us space to plan for the last several months. I want to acknowledge my good friend Dave, Adventure Dave Flesh, who is in the audience somewhere. I know because he was just up here. But Dave is the field representative for Congressman Olpsack, and who was not able to be here today, but who has done a wonderful job supporting people with disabilities and lots of others over the years, and he'll be retiring. So, Dave, wherever you are, thank you for all of your work, not only on the committee, but to support people with disabilities. Yay! I also want to acknowledge our planning committee. Everybody did a great job. There were a couple of people that really stood out, in addition to my friend and co-chair Keith here. I'd like to acknowledge Aaron Kay for all the work developing the program and putting things together. Thank you, Aaron. Alyssa, as always, did a great job with the tables, getting the exhibits, and I think we might have a record number. I think we've got 19 exhibits. I've been tasked with reading them all, so anyway, thank you, and also to Brian and Simon and whoever else that helped set up. So I don't think I ever did stop to introduce myself, and I'm not sure Keith did either. But my name is Mike Honig. I work for the Center for Disabilities and Development, and I'm really thrilled to be here, and thrilled to be a part of the ADA Planning Committee. I'm going to give the list of sponsors and then the exhibits, and I hope a lot of you will visit them. There's a lot of great information. So they are the ARC of Southeast Iowa, NAMI of Johnson County, Disability Rights Iowa. Yeah, cheer when I call your names. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, League of Women Voters of Johnson County, UI Reach, Warren for President, Inc., UI USDA, I'm not going to say the whole thing, it's the Student Disability Advocacy Group, Domestic Violence Intervention Program, UAIP, Systems Unlimited, Community Crisis Service and Food Bank, ACLU of Iowa Hawkeye Chapter, Goodwill of the Heartland, the Iowa City VA Healthcare System, Access to Independence of the Eastern Iowa Corridor, City of Iowa City Human Rights, UI Council on Disability Awareness, or CDA, and the Center for Disability Development. And did I miss anybody? I've got a little technology issue, so I'm doing the best I can. Did I miss an exhibitor? If I did, speak up. All right, apparently not. Keith, did you want to introduce Mayor Pro Tem Taylor?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Taylor will give the city proclamation. Thank you.
Absolutely. She's there you go. Well, I was gonna. Okay, we are. So we did something new this year, and we asked people that are presenting to do bios, and so I learned some things about Mayor Pro Tem Taylor. She was elected to the Iowa City City Council in January 2016, and then elected by the council as Mayor Pro Tem in 2018. She has a BSN from the University of Iowa, woohoo, and she works at UIHC as an RN. So she has a family, a daughter, Christine, a son-in-law, David. So when she mentions her son-in-law, that must mean she's a really good mother-in-law, right? And grandchildren, Michael and Delilah. And then I also learned that she enjoys solving Sudoku puzzles and baking. Now, if she's anything like me, that would be a really dangerous combination to do at the same time, because I'd get so engrossed in my Sudoku that whatever was in the oven would burn. So hopefully she's a little more organized than I am. She's an longtime Iowa City resident. She's a trustee of the Iowa City Federation of Labor, a precinct rep for Johnson County Democrats, memberships on a number of things, including SEIU, the Johnson County Iowa Senior Center. They just helped us out with a support group request, so I'm grateful to that, and the University Club. So now I'll let you hear from the person that you came to hear, and that's Mayor Pro Tem Taylor. There you go.
Thank you, Mike, and yes, I have learned a few things over the past years, and also been late to a few meetings because of trying to do Sudoku puzzles. As he said, my name is Pauline Taylor, and I represent District A for the Iowa City City Council, which is the west and southwest part of Iowa City, and the Mayor Pro Tem. I'm very happy to be here to celebrate the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Proclamations are made by governmental bodies to honor, celebrate, and create awareness of an event or significant issue. And on behalf of the mayor, myself, and my fellow council members, I'm very pleased and proud to read the following proclamation that was read by the mayor at last week's City Council meeting. City of Iowa City Proclamation. Whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, was passed on July 26, 1990 to ensure the civil rights of persons with disabilities, and whereas July 26 will mark the 29th anniversary of the signing of the ADA, which expanded access and opportunities for people with disabilities, and whereas the ADA has done this by reducing barriers and changing perceptions and increasing full participation in community life, and whereas the full promise of the ADA will only be reached if we remain committed to continue our efforts to fully implement this act, and whereas Iowa City affirms the principles of equality and inclusion for persons with disabilities as set forth and embodied in the ADA, and whereas the Iowa City government and residents are proud to recognize the accomplishments and contributions of our residents with disabilities, and whereas throughout the year and on the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the City of Iowa City celebrates and recognizes the progress that has been made by reaffirming the principles of equality and inclusion and recommitting our efforts to reach full ADA compliance. And now, therefore, the City of Iowa City calls upon all community members to observe this day with appropriate ceremonies and activities that celebrate the contributions of persons with disabilities and to renew our commitment to the Americans with Disability Act.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you're welcome to stick around and visit the exhibits, or maybe make something real quickly for us all. It's a pleasure to meet you. This is the first time we've had a chance to talk. So, all right, we are going to move on to awards. Simon, are you in the neighborhood somewhere with a plaque?
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to start with, for those of you that are not familiar with this celebration, we do give out a couple of awards every year. And the first one is the Terry Cunningham Award. Those of you that have been in Iowa City for any length of time know that Terry Cunningham was a major player in advocacy on behalf of people with disabilities. And he himself was a person with a disability. He was a mainstay here on the stage, emceeing ADA celebrations. So it's a special award, and I was honored this year to nominate the winner. So the winner of this year's Terry Cunningham Award is Sujit Singh. So Sujit, all right, thanks. All right, I'm going to read. Can you I want people to understand why he was nominated. So as I said, and I'm going to read the nomination. I may skip a little bit just in the interest of not wanting to get anybody wet. But so for those of you who were here, you will know that, or have been here for a while, you know that Terry Cunningham's priority was to improve living conditions for people with disabilities. He walked the talk with involvement in countless advocacy and public education initiatives. Huh? In his persistent, convincing way, Sujit is following in Terry's footsteps. My inspiration for nominating Sujit for this award stems from his production of the video Through My Eyes, which chronicles the impressions of 4 individuals who take on a disability while partnering with an individual who has lived experience with a disability. Unlike typical disability simulations, which often leave people fearing the disability which they temporarily assume, the video paints a positive, realistic view of disability while educating viewers on access barriers and associated strategies for overcoming them. Sujit's proactive outreach has led to numerous video screenings for diverse audiences, including college students, city employees, and the general public. Many of you will remember Terry Cunningham as co-host of Hello, It's Us, a weekly disability-focused program produced at public access television here in Iowa City. Following Terry's untimely death, I was honored to be asked to carry on a portion of his legacy by co-hosting the program with our good friend Keith Ruff here. We soon brought Sujit on to the team as technical director. Sujit's contribution to the show have extended far beyond its technical side. He is an integral part of our production scheduling team, a tireless marketer of our program, and a strong advocate when it comes to ensuring that Hello, It's Us has top quality closed captioning. As I considered Sujit's effort to date aimed at improving the lives of people with disabilities, I noted other similarities to Terry. Terry was a fearless advocate when it came to challenging systems such as Medicaid to remove barriers which prevented a full life in the community for people with disabilities. Sujit is challenging Iowa City Transit's policy which prevents free bus access during certain times of the day. Both formally and informally, Terry and Sujit have counseled and supported individuals with a variety of disabilities. Many of you will remember Terry's hard work on behalf of countless state and local disability groups, including the Statewide Independent Living Council, Homestead Real Choices Consumer Task Force, and Extend the Dream Foundation. Sujit, starting down that same path, currently serving the Center for Disabilities and Development's Community Partnership Advisory Council, and recently speaking about transportation issues at an Iowa Department of Transportation statewide summit. So thank you to members of the ADA Celebration Planning Committee for supporting the nomination of Sujit Singh as this year's recipient of the Terry Cunningham Award. And thank you, Sujit, for listening to Terry's message and doing your part to keep his legacy alive. I believe Keith,
Deputy Reagan. Congratulations, Sujit. Now I'd like to introduce Deputy Reagan, which will give the building award.
actually, is Ed here yet? I heard that he had a little transportation kerfluffle. Does anybody know if Ed Gaines is here?
I don't see it.
Maybe we should redo the agenda a little bit because I know Ed was really looking forward to doing this. Gerald, Stephanie, does that work for you? Are you going to be here for a while? Okay. I think this would be really meaningful for Ed, and he had a transportation snafu. So if somebody could please let us know or let me know when Ed gets here. So you'll get to be introduced twice, Stephanie. That's the exciting part. Gerald, are you in the neighborhood? Okay. So we're going to do the bio on you. Now, I don't think you didn't say anything about Sudoku puzzles, but Gerald has been a friend of mine for a long time. He moved to Iowa City last fall after nearly 20 years as a rehabilitation counselor with Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services. Originally from Minnesota, Gerald has a master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from Minnesota State University. Gerald has been actively involved with various community committees, assisting others with skill building and advocacy. He is currently employed as an independent living specialist with Access to Independence. So Gerald is going to give us a few remarks about A2I and a really exciting project that they're doing. So Gerald, tell us all about it.
Well, I'm a very good speaker. So we have a table set up over here with a resource center for people with disabilities and their families to help with information, referral, advocacy, peer counseling up to manage your full potential. So stop over and give us a call for First Avenue South. We didn't see the grant that brings the city of Iowa City, the social justice and racial equity grant to allow us to do a special project called visibility. It's based upon photo voice. We work with 10 participants who have disabilities. We're going to give them like a disposable camera to go around the community to take photographs of their experience in living with a disability. And these photos are going to be used to create like a traveling exhibit to go around different areas of the community and maybe other towns. And this is going to be just the platform to begin additional peer groups and discussion on how to improve advocacy and accessibility for individuals with disabilities. We have information regarding visibility on the table here, so please take time to take a look at that. That's all I have to say.
Katie, are you in the neighborhood, or can you get into the neighborhood? Yes. All right, I'll introduce you. So, one of the things about our ADA committee, and this is something that Keith has really pushed forward on, is the importance of giving the voice of young people with disabilities speaking. And we're going to do that today. Some of you may remember Aaron last year introducing Senator Merkley, and so we've really made a conscious effort to involve students. And we've got some great ones this year. So I'd like to introduce Katie Ecker. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then she's going to take over here. So Katie Lane Ecker is an undergrad from Stockton, California, studying English and creative writing and disability studies at the UI. Katie currently serves as president of the student organization, okay, I get to say it now, UI Students for Disability Advocacy and Awareness, or USDA. Yay! Katie is heavily involved in disability activism on the University of Iowa campus, most notably in authoring USDA's Fall 2018 petition to relocate student disability services out of the basement of Burge Residence Hall. Woo! A document that was signed by over 3,000 graduate and undergraduate students. Katie has spearheaded and or played an integral part in a number of on-campus disability advocacy efforts including the creation of an ADHD support group through University Counseling Service, September 2018, the coordination of USDA's Disability Awareness Month event series, which was really cool, in October, the planning and leading 14 students on a Hawkeye Service Team's disability rights trip to Biloxi, Mississippi in March of this year, and the planning and coordination of USDA's Tip of the Iceberg Disability and Justice Rally on the Pentecrest in May of this year. Katie plans to continue her work as a campus disability activist, love that, in the coming academic year, and hopes to attend grad school for disability studies in the future. So Katie, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Mike. So, I'm really glad that the weather is holding up right now. Let's hope it stays that way. Thank you, Mike and Keith, for the opportunity to speak today. I think, like you said, it's really important that the younger generation continue to get involved in disability rights issues and in, sort of moving us forward. So, the ADA was signed into law 2.5 years before I was born. I'm 26 and I'm still an undergraduate student, so I'm a non-traditional student. So I'm a little, atypical in that regard. And for those incoming freshmen at the University of Iowa this upcoming year, the ADA was celebrated during their 11th year when they were born. And so a lot of us are very removed from the ADA and what it meant. And so for millennials and Gen Zers, we've existed sort of in this world that's incredibly more accommodating and accessible than the world that many of you lived in before my generation. And I think it's incredibly important for students like myself to remember what our elders went through and fought for in order to get these very important pieces of legislation passed, specifically the ADA and before that, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. And if it hadn't been for the blood, sweat, and tears that disability rights advocates and activists and their allies put in all of these decades before I was born, before other students were born, there is no chance that students like me would have a chance to succeed at the University of Iowa or any institution of higher education across this country. And yet, even though these landmark pieces of legislation have profoundly impacted the ability for disabled people to go out into the world and do whatever we want to do and follow our dreams, there are still so many limitations that we're presently dealing with. For some background information, Mike was just talking a second ago about the SDS relocation petition. So for some context, the Student Disability Services Office at the University of Iowa, which is the office that provides academic accommodations for students, is right now and has been for the past 10 years located in the basement of Burge Residence Hall. If you've ever been to the SDS office or you've ever been into Burge, the second you walk in, it's down a giant winding staircase. If you can't use the staircase, you have to be able to access the elevator, which is way far down a hallway. There's not great signage to finding it, and then once you do go down the elevator, if it's in operation, because it does go out of operation quite a bit, you go down into the basement where they've got the food prep kitchens, where they've got the laundry facilities, where they've got these big boilers and really, really old machinery from when the building was first built. And just, it's a really, really unwelcoming environment. So not only have students had a lot of issues being able to access the space, either not being able to go in and take a test or being able to go in and meet with their accommodations coordinator, metaphorically it sends this message to University of Iowa students that if you have a disability, that you don't matter, that you should be hidden away in a basement, and that's something that I'm not okay with. And so, yeah. So me and a number of other students, including Andrea Courtney, who's over there at the table for USTA, spent about 2 years prior to the petition trying to work through channels, seeing what we could get done about this issue, and didn't manage to get anywhere. And this was really, really profoundly frustrating for all of us. And at one point we decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead and do a petition. We think that if students hear about this, whether they have a disability or not, they're going to care. And so we released the petition last October, and by the time we closed out the petition in December, we had over 3,000 student signatures, which was 2,400 undergraduates and 600 graduate students, in addition to over 300 community and faculty and staff signatures. And so that comes out to 1 out of every 10 students at the University of Iowa has signed that petition. So at least 1 out of every 10 students at Iowa knows about the problem, is aware of the problem, and wants to see it changed. And I think that that's incredibly impactful, because knowing that the vast majority of those students don't have a disability or are not registered with SDS. And so I think this has really drawn a lot of attention to the issues that we're facing here on campus. In particular, this monstrous issue of the office being located in the basement. And so this ended up sort of sparking a fire on campus, led a lot of students with disabilities to find each other. That's something that's been really difficult for us to be able to do on campus. Unlike other identity groups, you can't necessarily go and give a list of people with disabilities to our organization and say, hey, reach out to these people, because, HIPAA and FERPA. So we're not allowed to do that, and it's also kind of awkward to walk up to somebody that you presume might have a disability and say, hey, what's up? Do you want to be in my org? It's kind of weird. So this really gave us a chance to get our name out there, and students started coming together and being able to talk about some of the issues that are happening. And honestly, a lot of our meetings are spent just venting and supporting one another in our frustrations that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so out of that, we began to realize that a lot of people on campus were starting to think that the SDS office location was the only problem that we were facing. And that is absolutely 150% not the case. Never has been the case and never will be the case. Whether the office is located there or not, there are so many issues that we have yet to address on campus. So we came up with this idea of creating a graphic of an iceberg, which we have over here at our table, which you can check out later after the event wraps up. But basically, the top of the iceberg says Student Disability Services is located in a dorm basement. And then everything else that students are facing, whether that be faculty and staff that aren't trained in how to provide accommodations appropriately, or what questions they're allowed to ask or not ask, whether that be the fact that we don't have a disability cultural house on campus, and we're the only group on campus that does not have one, or whether that be the fact that students have had really bad run-ins with professors or faculty in their treatment of them, and a variety of other things, including, and especially related to our theme here today, disabilities diversity, feeling like as a identity group, as a diversity group, that we're not included in conversations of diversity here on campus, or sometimes even in the community as a whole, which is really, really frustrating for a lot of students. So we ended up coming up with this institutional barriers faced by students with disabilities at the University of Iowa. Iceberg, and have begun the process of pursuing not only the SDS relocation efforts, but everything else that's listed on that iceberg, and then some. There's so much, it's kind of overwhelming. And so basically where we are in this process, we've been having ongoing conversations with administrators and with different departments on campus, namely the Division of Student Life, the Dean of Students, the Student Disability Services Office, the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and others as well. And we're going to continue to strive for more with these offices. We're gaining traction, but the process is very, very slow. It's very tiring. We all spend, afternoons and evenings gathering together, talking about these issues, just angry, yelling, crying. It's really frustrating at times for students, because we feel like we've been forgotten in a lot of ways. And I know it makes my time at the university really, really difficult to get through on a day-to-day basis, just not being able to function school-wise, but then when you add on top of it, I'm having to spend all this time and energy doing this advocacy, which I love doing, but it takes a lot of energy out of every single one of us. And so despite all of that, we plan to continue pushing for more, pushing for training, pushing for diversity and inclusion, supplemental service for disabled students beyond just academic accommodations, and so many more things. And so essentially, as a new generation of students, not students with disabilities, we are students with disabilities, but just individuals with disabilities as a whole, we are ready to take the torch and to move forward from 1973, from 1990, and move us into 2019 and next year 2020 when we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the ADA. Because even though these efforts that we as students are doing today are not going to impact us, because we're going to graduate, we're going to be gone by the time that the SDS office gets moved. I'm not going to benefit from that. I'm not going to benefit from the vast majority of the work that we're doing. But we know that the students that come after us are going to benefit profoundly in the same way that we've benefited from the work that was done to get the ADA passed in the first place and the work that was done to get 7504 passed in the first place. So we want to continue moving our community and our university beyond compliance and towards universal design and a genuine care for whether or not people are included and accommodated for and provided for. We want to move beyond deficit models of disability and towards empowerment and independence for disabled people. We want to move beyond shame and pity for disabled people and into embracing and celebrating how our disabilities make us unique and are an intrinsic part of our identity that will probably never be separated from, but that can be celebrated and embraced to the fullest extent possible. And you know, the needle has moved before, and we really hope and believe truly that we'll do it again. So thank you.
Thanks, Katie. Is Ed here yet?
No, it's not here yet.
What?
It's not here yet.
Stephanie, what's your time frame? Hang a little bit? All right.
Get a lot there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll wait.
Daniel, we'll get to you in just a second. We've had a little shift in the agenda, but we'll come back to you in just a second. You want to, Simon, are you in the building here? Keith, I think, is going to introduce you.
I like the individual, Simon Andrew. He's the ADA coordinator for Iowa City. And I just like to read a few facts about Andrew. He had a bachelor from Northern Iowa and a man from the University of Iowa. He does a great job in the Better City entities themselves are accessible to all people, no matter what. I like to introduce Simon Andrew.
Thank you so much, Keith. Wow, this is a fantastic turnout. As Mike said earlier, this is, I think, by far the best turnout that we've had at this event. So probably helps that it's not 100 degrees today, as it usually is for this event, but hopefully the rain will hold off. I'll try and be brief and get everyone out of here before the rain comes. I'm going to start by reading a proclamation that Keith accepted at the County Board of Supervisors this week at the meeting on Thursday. They did a similar proclamation to Whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed on July 26, 1990 to ensure the civil rights of citizens with disabilities. And whereas Johnson County, Iowa affirms the principles of equality and inclusion for persons with disabilities as set forth in the state of Iowa and embodied in the ADA, the laws of the state of Iowa, and ordinances of Johnson County. And Johnson County work with constituents and communities to bring forth the promise of hope and freedom that is envisioned by the passage of the ADA. And whereas July 26, 2019 celebrates the 29th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and whereas on Saturday, July 27, 2019, a Johnson County ADA celebration will be held on the pedestrian mall in Iowa City from 10 a.m. to noon with speeches, information tables, and presentations by and for persons with disabilities. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Johnson County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims July 27th today as Americans with Disabilities Act Awareness Day in Johnson County, and hereby urge county residents to participate in activities that celebrate and honor the spirit of the act, which dictates that persons with disabilities have the right to take control of and manage their lives. Signed this 25th day of July 2019 in Johnson County, Iowa, by Lisa Green Douglas, the chairperson of the Johnson County Board of Supervisors. So we're very appreciative for all of the support that both our council and our county board of supervisors give us. The progress that we made in terms of accessibility and inclusivity in our community couldn't be done without that support. So again, thank you for the great turnout today. I want to thank the planning committee for inviting me to be involved in the planning of this event and to speak today. It's my favorite event of the year, not just because this is the only event that they let me talk at, but here I learned something new. You know, the great thing about today is that with everybody together, there's so much great work going on in our community in terms of making us a more inclusive city that it's too much for any one of us to keep track of. So it's great, only event that they let me talk at, but here I learned something new. You know, the great thing about today is that with everybody together, there's so much great work going on in our community in terms of making us a more inclusive city that it's too much for any one of us to keep a program that maybe you weren't aware of. Yesterday, the city released a podcast that the great thing about today is that with everybody together, there's so much great work going on in our community in terms of making us a more inclusive city that it's too much for any one of us to keep a program that maybe you weren't aware of. Yesterday, the city programs going on in advocacy that podcast really highlighted for me how much is going on in the community. In a few minutes, we're going to have a performance, and we'll have another award to present. But I wanted to reiterate what Gerald commented on in terms of the visibility project that Access to Independence is currently working on. They really need people to sign up for this, and it's going to be a really fun activity. So I encourage all of you to stop by, chat with Gerald after the program today, and find out what that program's all about, and take part in that project. I also want to highlight the City of Iowa City Human Rights Commission for a grant that is helping the program. Another great advocacy piece that we've heard about today is Sujit's documentary. I also, with Mike, had the pleasure of participating in that, and I've got more positive feedback about that project than just about anything that I've done through my role as ADA coordinator. And from what I understand, I haven't asked Sujit about this today, but there is a film festival in Mason City coming up next month, or in September rather, that I understand that that film will be presented at. So congrats to appreciation for letting me participate in that. Another way in which we collaborate, Mike, thank you for helping us program the audible signals at Street and Washington Street. We're adding those as we replace traffic lights throughout the community, and it's a learning curve for city staff too, so we really need the engagement of the community to help us learn how those work. Keith, thank you for helping us work through access issues on the Ped Mall here during construction. The improvements on the pedestrian mall are for accessibility reasons, but during the short-term pain for that long-term improvement, it really helps to have the input from the public to make keep access as best as possible in the meantime. And I see that Harry's here as well. I want to thank Harry for always holding our feet to the fire and making sure that our buildings and public infrastructure are accessible. I couldn't do my job. Yeah, please, round of applause for Harry. I couldn't do my job without all the great work that Harry does advocating for persons with disability in our community. Another great community resource that has also been mentioned today is Hello It's Us. Mike and Keith are the hosts of that show on public access television. I've had the pleasure of being on there a couple of times, and last month they interviewed the city's Parks and Rec director. They had Julie Seidel-Johnson on as their guest, and I encourage you all to check out that program. You can find it on YouTube. But I wanted to call out our Parks and Rec department and how much great work they've been doing in recent years, especially in terms of accessible paths, playgrounds, restrooms, facilities. We put a number of updates that they have really taken the lead on making sure that they have a program to systematically plan out all those improvements, identify what needs to be done, and tackle all those projects. And we're also devoting a ton of resources to programming in the city. We are introducing new programs in many of our facilities that are meant to expand inclusion. For instance, at the library, they open up the library during off hours so they can have quiet time for families or persons with, whether it's on the autism spectrum or any sensitivity to loud spaces, noises, and they also have that time available to art therapy in the city's library too. So that's something the library is doing. Our Parks and Rec department has an entire division devoted to programming for special needs populations and for expanding inclusivity in all of their programming as well. They've also done some playground updates in recent years that include quiet spaces in those playgrounds for children that maybe need a quieter area as opposed to the normal hustle and bustle of playground. Again, thanks to Harry, we're doing a lot of facility improvements. We have aging facilities in which many updates are needed, and I'm sure that most of us have experienced those. But again, we have a program where we're systematically tackling those one at a time and making sure we're identifying improvements that are needed. And again, those generally focus on accessible routes, making sure that our restrooms are accessible. Those in the facilities are frequent areas in which most we've also collaborated with the university on our website. A lot of updates to the website to make sure that it is accessible as possible, especially to persons with low vision. Our police department, largely in collaboration with the county, that's my role at the end here, is all of us working together because no agency or individual can do any of this alone, but our police department is working closely with the county to complete what's called crisis intervention training. To effectively work with members of the public. Yes, thank you, Eric. It's a really important project. I encourage everybody to support the county behavioral access center. Yes, absolutely. Mental health is, we frequently talk about physical infrastructure today, but mental health issues are obviously important in making sure that we have an accessible and inclusive community. But the police department is going through trainings to make sure that we can effectively work with persons perhaps experiencing a mental health crisis, so we can give people the treatment they need without having to resort to, say, jail or the emergency room. And so at the end of the day, all of us benefit, and we can make sure that people get the help they need. Again, obviously, I don't want to sound like we're only patting ourselves on the back today. Obviously, we have a ton of challenges in our community, especially during this year with all the construction, private buildings going up, catching up on road maintenance after years of deferred maintenance. And so it's really hard to get around this right now. And that's where we really depend on all of you to help us get through it. So we have private construction, we have rural winter construction projects and sidewalks or roads blocked for that they would have been otherwise. So again, we appreciate your patience for the long-term gain here, but the short-term gain is important, and we know that it's challenging for all of us. So, but these projects are completed. A number of improvements that will make our community more accessible. We have a number of curb ramp and sidewalk infill projects going on right now, which we do annually. And all of these road resurfacing projects include with them updates of the curb ramps adjacent to them. So all of those streets will have improved sidewalk and curb ramp facilities. Since we're on the PATV, one I want to call out is the pedestrian walk project. I know it's been very challenging for access, but the project was pursued based on the water main needing to be replaced. But as we approach that project, we want to make sure that if we're going to rip up the infrastructure in any way, that we're keeping in mind the long-term accessibility of the area as we complete that project. So, everything from making sure that sidewalk cafes are aligned so there's a more direct, straight, accessible route, that there are other options to get across the pet mall that don't include steps. We removed some of those steps and made the access routes much more effective. And of course, we all remember the loose bricks and holes in the pet mall that no longer be in place. So again, it's a painful project to live through, but at the end of the day, we're going to have a much more accessible pedestrian network. So again, we're here to support each other. Please know that your city council and your city staff are supportive of making our community as accessible and inclusive as possible. If you run into any issues, please reach out to us. I think you'll find that staff members across the board, even if they can't help or don't know the answer themselves, will get you in touch with the right person to make sure that the issue is addressed. So again, thank you all for coming out. Fantastic turnout. Really appreciate it, and keep up the good work. Everybody here has a role. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. That was a very unique presentation. Now,
and the light, that audible signal went on, and I'm sure some of you that have walked down that will hear it and say, Burlington, light is on the cross, Burlington. And I'll tell you what, that was so great to have that, because it was impossible. Normally I navigate with traffic patterns, and I was really, really grateful to the city of Iowa City for having done that, because it made the difference between me making a safe crossing and not. So anyway, those investments really are paying off. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce Daniel Canfield, a UI Reach graduate. He currently is living in Iowa City with the support of Systems Unlimited. He successfully completed 3 years of the Reach program, graduating May 3rd, 2019. In the fall, Daniel will start a job at Regina School, helping in the cafeteria. All right. Woo! He's currently working on his technology skills, except I know he's got me beat on technology, I'll tell you that. He hopes to be eventually going back to college. He's an avid sports fan, particularly knowledgeable about Hawkeye football. Hope it's a good year. Possibly their #1 fan. In addition to the Hawkeyes, Daniel is actively involved in Daniel's Emeritus Church, for attending their campus ministry, SALT, which I believe is a ministry type group. He's currently an ambassador for Best Buddies International and hopes to become a global ambassador. Sounds like you're well on your way to that. He also enjoys being with friends, video games, board games, and participates in recreation center activities and collecting jokes. If his college plans don't work out, he'd like to be a stand-up comedian. So this is your chance, Daniel. This is a pretty easy crowd. So you're on.
Thanks for inviting me to speak here today. Before when I was born, I could read, write, run, play, and do pretty much all the kid activities before my diagnosis. I was developing normally. When I was 8 years old, I had a rare male disease called adrenoleukodystrophy, or ALD for short. ALD causes the nerves in your brain to die by splitting. Without treatment, I would have died. I got treated by a bone marrow transplant. My brother was my donor. Unfortunately, because of the damage in my brain, I now have some disabilities. My right leg is weak and unstable. My right arm doesn't work as well. I have processing delays, so I have to think hard before I speak. My main disability is I'm legally blind. Sounds horrible. But with skill and perseverance, a great support system, and a great sense of humor, I managed to surprise many people. My medical whole team said that I wouldn't be able to make any more progress after 5 years, but I'm not done yet. One of the biggest surprises is I was the first blind student to ever be accepted and complete the UI REACH program. REACH stands for Realizing Educational and Career Hopes. It's a 2-year program with an additional 3rd year for people with disabilities. The goal is to learn about jobs, independent living, as well as Big Ten college experience. Some of my classes were internship and personal finance. I got to live without my parents. live in 3 of the dorms: Stanley, Dom, and Mayflower.
Wow.
I was able to make some lifelong friends, REACH and traditional. I involved in 3 organizations: Ladies of REACH, Best Buddies, and the Salt Company, which is actually the campus ministry for the local church called Veritas. I also got to go to 22 Iowa football games and got to be in 14 of 14 first quarter waves.
All right.
My REACH staff were great. The ADA the ADA helped me. What? The ADA helped me with jobs. They can't ask me anything about my disabilities. I can either tell them during the interview process or after I get the job. If I'm qualified to it, they have to give me his accommodations to do it. The transportation has helped me. The Bionic Bus helped me tremendously. It's the university is bus system for people with disabilities or bad legs. I will use a similar bus system called Seats through Iowa City. Other public accommodations include Braille on bathroom doors and elevators. Braille on ATMs, which is hilarious when it's a drive-up ATM. Swipe card entries to hotels. You might have noticed the bumps on the sidewalk, which lets the blind people know when they're about to enter a crosswalk. And yet they now have talking crosswalks. Guide dogs are allowed in public areas. And technology is pretty helpful. But there's still work to be done. Thank you for including me.
I understand that Ed is here. Thank you, Daniel. That was terrific. Keith, do you want to reintroduce Stephanie? Stephanie, are you still here? Excellent. So come on out, and thank you for bearing with us. You've been around people with disabilities, you know, the transportation issues can make things interesting at times, and I think that's what happened to Ed here. So, Ed, if you want to come on up and...
I like that.
Good morning, Iowa City. My name, good morning. And CEO of the ARCA Southeast Iowa, and I'm honored today to be able to present the ADA Bill Reagan Vitality